Hey everyone, and thank you for tuning in again live. Today is Monday, November 11th. It is noon, and you are currently watching the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group here live on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. And as always, we always like to encourage people to tag everyone you know that loves tattoos. Help us get the word out. It doesn't matter if it's someone looking to become a tattoo artist. Maybe they're just a fine artist. Maybe it's your mom and she wants to get her first tattoo. Tag everyone you know that loves tattoos and tell them to jump on in and ask questions if they have any questions. And welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in their live streams, real world events, to share and inspire and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day, and with your help, have evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on demand tattoo and art shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo at www.reinventingthetattoo.com. Right there. And you don't have to subscribe right away. We do offer 3 options for you to try it out to see if it's something you'd be interested in subscribing to. The first option is to go through and take a sample webinar from the Reinventing the Tattoo canon, where you get to go through and get a behind-the-scenes look at what it's like to have a full Reinventing the Tattoo canon subscription. The second option that we offer is to get some free advice from Guy Aitchison about goals. Maybe it's goals to set for yourself or things maybe you want to look at improving a little bit more. And the third and final option is to take a comprehensive tattoo history course from Jay Brown. For fellow tattoo history nerds such as myself, I highly recommend the tattoo history course. It is packed full of information and knowledge, and it is absolutely incredible. I cannot recommend that enough. At reinventingthetattoo.com, you can also find a full schedule with full weekly and special event live stream details. For example, if you wanted to jump into today's show, all you would have to do is go to reinventingthetattoo.com, get into the events area, and you'll see a full calendar available for you to go through and choose the live stream that you want to join. While there at reinventingthetattoo.com, you also have access to the Reinventing 24/7 channel. It's got 13 different episodes playing at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is available on all web-enabled devices, whether it's a smartphone or a tablet or a smart TV, all of that and a whole lot more. It's available as long as you can access the internet. We also offer plenty of professional development courses from over 20 world-class tattoo artists, such as Andre Malcolm, BJ Betts, Bob Tyrell, and a whole lot more, all available for purchase at reinventingthetattoo.com. You can also find us in both of the app stores, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, as well as our Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel, our Reinventing the Tattoo Roku channel, which has about 12 to 15 different episodes going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as well as all of the major podcast directories such as Apple and Spotify. Or you can do what most people do and just do a quick browser search for Reinventing the Tattoo and you'll find it all, except for the book, which is still currently out of print. Once again, if this is working for you, please drop a chat, make a comment, let me know, and tag a friend that loves tattoos. We have a number of weekly staple shows we always encourage people to tune into on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. Starting off on Mondays at 9 a.m., we have Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom, where we get to go through and discuss basic drawing techniques and strategies. Helps us get back to our roots of being a fine artist in the tattoo world. And that is 9 a.m. Monday mornings, Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom. Following that, you have this show at noon on Mondays, which is the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group with me, Jason Leeser, where we get to go through and work on different skill sets or talk about different upcoming events, all of which are skills, and that helps us round out our potential skills that we use every day. Once again, that is at noon on Mondays, the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group. Following this show and capping off Mondays at 9 p.m., we have a subscribers exclusive drawing group with Sandy McAndrew from the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. And that is only available to people that have a subscription to Reinventing the Tattoo. Whether it is a Monday evening subscription, a Reinventing the Tattoo Evolution subscription, or a full Reinventing the Tattoo Canon subscription, you have to have one of those three in order to access those Monday evening drawing groups. What I can tell you from personal experience is that those Monday evening drawing groups alone are worth their weight in gold. If you look at the work that I was doing about 2 years ago before I started doing the Monday evening drawing groups and the work that I'm doing now, there is a noticeable difference in the work that I'm doing now compared to then. And that's all thanks to those Monday evening drawing groups. Following the subscribers exclusive drawing group on Monday evenings, on Tuesdays at 11 a.m., we have the Tattoo Weekly Show, where we get to go through and stay up to date with all of the latest news in the tattoo industry, whether it's new laws and regulations being imposed, or maybe it's new travel visa restrictions, or maybe it's new artist opportunities in other countries. Take a look. That is the Tattoo Weekly Show at 11 a.m. on Tuesdays. Following that, on Wednesdays at noon, we have the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley, where we get to go through and do a deeper dive into the world of the business side of tattooing, whether that's talking about finances or advertising and marketing, maybe that's discussing travel visas or client management, all of that and a whole lot more. That's Wednesdays at noon, the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley. And capping off the week on Thursdays at 6 p.m., we have the Tattoo Collecting 101 podcast hosted by Fawn Baker, where we get to go through and share some of our interesting stories about where we've been along our own tattoo paths. We have two special events coming up. We have one coming up that's Friday. This Friday is November 15th. We will be doing a machine building day down at Radiant Energy Tattoo in Brick Township, New Jersey. And that will be taking place from noon until 8 p.m. We'll be going through and teaching about coil machines, coil winding, spring theory, the whole nine. It's going to be quite an awesome event. And anyone that's in New Jersey that wishes to take the machine seminar, please stop on down. As well, after that, December 6th, 7th, and 8th, Reinventing the Tattoo will be beaming out live from beautiful San Juan, Puerto Rico for the International Puerto Rico Tattoo Convention. Please join myself, James Wisdom, Steve Butcher, Devin Cooley, Jimmy DeLessio, Ryan Ashley, Kevin Bledsoe, Derb Morrison, and many more for this beautiful destination tattoo convention. It's a great time to take a little vacation. Come out, get a brand new tattoo from some world-class artists. You will not be disappointed. Would like to go through and take a minute to thank some of our sponsors, some of the people that make these shows happen, starting off with WorldTattooEvents.com, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. They're constantly keeping everything updated. As we know, living in a post-pandemic era, there are still tattoo events and conventions getting rescheduled or canceled. So if you want the latest, most up-to-date tattoo event or convention information coming to a city or town near you, or maybe it's one you plan on visiting, it's how I book all of my vacations, take a look at worldtattooevents.com. Would also like to go through and thank, wrong one, no, TattooNow.com, technology for tattooers, the leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattooers of all levels. They're 100% competitive with any type of CRM, mailing list, or scheduling software out there. So if you're really looking for the digital tools to streamline your workflow, to really manage and really streamline your client booking process, take a look at TattooNow.com. They have been in the business of helping tattooers for over 20 years, and I can definitely guarantee you they know what they're talking about. Would also like to go through and say a very special thank you to Guy Aitchison over at GuyAitchison.com. He is the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo. You can go to GuyAitchison.com to pick up a copy of his Biomech Encyclopedia, some of his tutorial DVDs. He's got a few custom coil machines for sale, I believe, as well as countless fine art prints and the occasional oil painting, all available at GuyAitchison.com. Would also like to say a very special thank you and shout out to Amy Nichols over at the Apprenticeship Diaries. This is my preferred resource to send people to whenever they are inquiring about what a tattoo apprenticeship is like. I tell them go listen to the podcast and come back to me if you have any questions. As always, if you like today's show, we ask that you please post a positive review on the channel, help us get the word out. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button at the bottom of the page. This way you can always stay up to date for new episodes coming out. If you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event, become a sponsor of our community, or if you are looking for a fine art or a tattoo critique, you can always email management at reinventingthetattoo.com, and we will be happy to get back to you as soon as we can. And that kind of wraps up today's intro. Let's go through. And we do have James Wisdom with us today. Hello, James. Mr. Wisdom, if you are there.
Hello, Jason.
Hello, sir.
Greetings.
That's a pretty awesome graphic you got going on.
Greetings. I am joining you today. Thanks for coming on my thing today. That was awesome. It was awesome to have you.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
Yeah, it was
great to
see you. Great to catch up.
Yeah, I always try to make it, if at all possible. It's a little early for me considering how late I'm usually up every night drawing, but I always like to try to make it if I can. Let's see. There we go. And we'll throw that guy up there.
Hey, this is what we were talking about. Doing like side by side, we can just draw pictures and stuff. Just hang out and draw.
That's what I enjoy doing a lot. I have to say, though, I'm working on a couple of new designs for Puerto Rico because we will both be there this year, and it is going to be absolutely epic, as it always is. But, I just really try to stress how much I thoroughly enjoy working at that show every year. Now, I haven't done my warm-ups, and I've been trying to be better about doing warm-ups, and getting ready for drawing, but let's just see what we can come up with today. Let me make sure, cool, I'm on a new layer. I've been playing around with this design for a little while, just trying to map out some flow and just see what kind of imagery I can come up with that might be a little different. Maybe I'll do something like this for like one of the claws. I don't know. I've been struggling with like hand positioning and different kind of layouts, I guess, to try to still keep everything with like a nice flow to it, but not have it be overly complex, if that makes any sense. So this has been a rough one. It's supposed to be going on a side, so I'm trying to keep anatomy in line and anatomy as like my primary focus. If we can imagine that, this would be the armpit area up here. Coming down, we would have pectoral here. Our rib cage would be coming down this direction. So I'm really trying to make sure that everything kind of fits and flows in the right spot. Actually, pectoral muscle would be up here.
Well, I think it has a great dynamic character to it. Just the way that certainly like the way that it's like flowing through the space. I feel like I can see it, but you have like you've already designated the spine, right? All the way through?
Pretty
That's
much.
yeah, okay.
Um, so I, you know, after drawing everything freehand for a number of years, I finally figured out that you can use one of the snake brushes that are readily prevalent,
Mm-hmm.
on just about any kind of Procreate brush website. If you use that to do a basic map of like the body, you can actually find one that'll give you almost like a dotted line for the spine. So the
Mm-hmm.
spine on this would be flowing from here. This would be the lower edge of the body. We have the underbelly, the outside, and then this would be this dotted part of the line would kind of be coming down, flowing around. So it really kind of helps you figure out, how do you want this to move in a three-dimensional space?
Right. Well, that I mean, that was what I was thinking too when you were talking about like how do you put that arm and stuff? And it's like it has to be, if you have that spine related, that's where you could sort of, you know what I mean? That seems like that'd be the way. Like you have it already. It's sort of not that I know where to put it, but I'm just suggesting like I see your spine line and I feel like that would be the way that they would have to orient. They'd have to
Right.
be related to wherever that spine is. You'd have shoulder blade, like you said, pecs. You see it, right? So so you have it anatomically, right? You have like sternal notch, you've got the collarbones, like
Yep.
clavicles, right? Um,
That would be here in this generalized area, branching off into the deltoid, bicep, tricep would be partially hidden for this
will
one.
you throw a different color on for me so I can
Okay.
see where you're drawing? Do you mind? I'm sorry.
No,
I
not at
love it.
all. Not at all. We'll do
Throw another color.
magenta. We'll do
Yes.
magenta.
Beautiful.
So in this we have our spine line,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now the spine's going to be hidden over here because we have mostly underbelly being shown,
Yep. And
but
so the dots are on the back side of the form. The
correct.
dots
In
back
this
there, they're
area they
behind
would
it.
be hidden,
Mm-hmm.
right?
So
Because
where does
this
the
would all
spine
be.
come back? Where are you having it come back?
So I would have the spine, let me hide the
Right
layer
here by
below
the
it.
face.
So the spine, if we follow this dotted line,
Mm-hmm.
would be coming down in this direction,
Mm-hmm.
and then it would wrap around here. So we would only see
Gorgeous.
a
Yeah,
little bit
that's
of it
awesome.
back here.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way I envision it is having this move backwards in space,
Mm-hmm.
this continue backwards in space, this coming forwards in space. So this would really be coming at you. And we would follow this spine line around. And then if we have one of two options when we get to here, we can either have this part move backwards in space or forwards in space. And I was thinking
Yeah,
about,
I see what you mean. That's a conundrum right there. You have
right,
like it feels
because
like a
we can either,
contradiction. Yeah. See this those the I don't know. I'm sorry
so we can
for
do that.
stuttering. I apologize, but right here it's
You're
like
good.
this underbelly. Like so, I what I'm suggesting is there are those see those little scalloped lines that are going.
Right?
They're all
These?
horizontal. I know you can't see where I'm pointing at, but
Yes.
but yeah, it's right. It's immediately to the left of your arrow. That area, just right up there.
Right here?
Those horizontal lines like that. That just looks like belly. You know what I mean? It feels like a
Right.
belly. It looks like a belly, and then it's like I guess I see. It feels like you again. You could have this sort of like you could go either way. It could be on the back. It
Right.
could be on the front. You do have to make a decision. Um, but yeah, I don't. I think I would like. I'd love to see that belly, poke out underneath there. That makes so much sense. Um, yeah, no, it's complicated, but I think once you get definitive, you just really you really be like definitive about the spine, and that's so hard to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you make a decision, you make a choice, you stick with it, and that seems to me like that's
You know what? I
There's no
think
way out of this puzzle, right? Because dragon is so hard to draw. You know what I mean? People spend their whole life to master, drawing the dragon and stuff. And it's like,
yeah, I one thing I constantly keep looking at is I keep looking at like a push pull in that
mm,
three-dimensional space.
mm-hmm,
So I really like to show that it's moving backwards and coming forwards and then moving backwards to create almost a rhythm of depth
mm-hmm,
um, within the piece. So typically, I would want the head to be coming forward the most out of everything. So
mm-hmm,
then that would put the body in the middle ground here. And then I could probably, instead of moving this forward again, I could probably do something like this, where this underbelly would we would see this continuously kind of coming down and around and then disappearing down this way. And then we could
mm-hmm.
have the spine coming forward again over in this direction.
Yes. Amazing.
Well,
That's
if
really,
we
I
actually, if
feel
we
like
did
this is your
that,
key. This is your key
this
to,
would be
yep,
underbelly.
bro.
So that would be moving backwards even further.
Amazing. I love that, dude. Seriously. I love it. And now I feel like now the arms and the legs, they like draw themselves. But there's a really I have this cool dragon book. I
Oh,
want
yeah?
to Yeah, hold on. You keep on drawing. Let me dig into the archives here. See if I can come up with my dragon book.
Yeah, it's one thing I've always been fascinated with the work of James and Anthony Tex. Guys like James Anthony Tex, Clint Danroth, Chris Dunn, um, and just their use of dimension and three-dimensional space within their compositions. You see the same thing with a lot of Steve Moore's work, where he's really utilizing that three-dimensional window um, to create a lot of depth, a lot of perspective. He uses a lot of foreshortening. Well, they all use a lot of foreshortening. So it really creates this definitive kind of look where the dragon's really moving in a space. Uh, so it's one thing I've been trying to get better at. I have been trying to also at the same time stick to more of like a classical approach and a classical kind of design element. Just trying to simplify things a little bit more. So it's been kind of confusing for me lately to be able to go through and simplify yet make more complex. But as a famous philosopher once said, the most complex of all creations are also the most simplistic of all creations. So it's difficult because I don't want it to appear flat. So I really have to utilize a lot of depth and perspective tricks. Um, like fading out the tail till it's nothing. This would end up just being a very light gray kind of blur. This would end up going from a light gray blur into like a little bit more definition. And then it would continuously be more defined as it moves upwards. And I guess if I were to do arms in this, I'd probably do something like we'll use orange. We could start an arm here. And then that would kind of be connected to the clavicle area, bicep, tricep. elbow. Wow, space effects.
Jason, that looks so much more logical. That just looks so much more uh, anatomical and makes sense. You can, I mean, the one on the right side is going to be that one could be all kinds of dramatic.
Well, the one, so if we're looking at like basic dragon anatomy,
Mm-hmm.
if we draw a cross area where our shoulders would be, just like you were drawing a person,
Yeah.
and we had, our deltoid back here, if we had the arm moving back this way, it would be obscured by the body. So you wouldn't really see a whole lot of that. But what we would see is probably just like a little bit of a hand,
Mm-hmm.
maybe coming down in this
Oh, and
direction.
coming in front of.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
So we would have to have some way to show that this part of the body here is actually behind this part of the body over here.
Mm-hmm.
So the only real way to do that is to throw an overlapping element in front of it.
Well, this really, to me, it sort of reinforces the importance of, doing gesture sketches and stuff. You just sort of sketch the gesture of the figure, and then you start to have this like library of moves, like
Right.
how the body can move in really twisted, interesting, contorted ways. I suppose because that the arm, the shoulder that's underneath the head, you could throw that arm in front of the body, for instance. You know what I mean? You could move it off. Now that you know where they're at, you can move it around. I really like what you did. I really like how you located where so that straight line. Um, Here's the anatomy for that. Uh, those two
Right.
points would be known as the acromioclavicular joints. So the
Yeah,
acromioclavicular
what he
joint,
said.
yeah, is where your clavicle meets your acromion process. That's a part of your shoulder blade. So there's a little hook on your shoulder blade, and your clavicle your scapula, which is your shoulder blade bone. So your scapula bone has a little piece. It's called an acromion process. Anyway, where your clavicle, your collarbone meets your shoulder blade. I hope that makes sense. Right where you have it, that's a very important bony landmark. And so, how you would sort of express it on the dragon too, you might like develop a little bit more of like, some of the neck muscles and stuff too. There's some trapezius and stuff that comes off of there. Just a few other little, you know, just sort of the fullness, right, of the various muscle groups. But now that you've located it, dude, it makes so much sense. But you could really make it very traditional, I believe, too. A very traditional pose, a very traditional kind of, uh, like it could hold anything. It could hold that pearl of wisdom. It could hold it could hold water or fire or be, chasing after something. Anyway, I think I think that was a good move. I'm gonna I'll definitely do it like that. I don't think I was approaching my dragons as thoroughly. Now watching you do it, I think is really it's I'm learning a lot about how to construct it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean everyone constructs them differently too.
Totally.
I take a very almost human-based anatomical approach to it, where I'm like, okay, here's my bicep. This is where this is going to be my deltoid. Here's my forearm and my lower arm. I'm going to have a little bit of a bend in the wrist. Um, but then you lay out your knuckle joints. Just trying to get an idea of, okay, well, this one's going to be almost like a
Yeah.
thumb, so it's not going to have as many. Then I want this guy to come down. So I'll do, there's that one, and then
Yeah.
finger.
The proportion is great. Yeah, that looked like, it would be this really, dramatic size hand. I like it. I like that size. I think that's. Should it break the body? You know what I mean? Should it be inside the body or break it? What do you
So
think?
the hand would all be coming forward more. And that
Mm-hmm.
would put, I mean, I think you're
It's
right.
still.
If I was really going to have the hand coming more towards the viewer,
Mm-hmm.
as far as foreshortening goes, then I would want to make that dramatically larger. But I would also want to shorten the lower arm to show
Yep.
that foreshortening.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we
Totally.
could easily go through and do that. This could might
Maybe.
even,
Well, I know. I hear where
yeah,
I see where you're going with it. I really like what you had. I don't. I didn't mean to. I don't want to change that sort of spirit. It looks great. It's just sort of an interesting. There's like a little tangency where the nails touch the belly. The
tangents.
nail. Yeah, the nail just like touching
That
the
is my
belly.
kryptonite. It is my weakness. I
No, it's not a
always end
weakness.
up
It's
with
just.
all of
I
these
think.
tangents.
I think the tangent is an important like reality. Like a tangent is eye catching, and so we can use it to our advantage. But certainly, like, um, yeah, it can be a frustrating when you're at the compositional stage. But I'm like, like that was, I was showing a drawing this morning myself, and it was like, now that I'm done with it, I was rendering it. I was like, I'm looking back, and then I'm like, there's so many different compositional choices, in
Right?
hindsight that I could have done this and I could have done that. So I don't want to look at it with regret. Instead, I want to, let's see if we can do it better. That is cool. I think the hand is too big for the head now, but if you could just
Right.
you could blow that head up just a
Yeah,
little
liquefy.
bit. But that is, yeah, if it just breaks the form a little bit, that seems like it would be very effective. Well, maybe you could move the whole shoulder down just slightly. As you're
I
dragging,
could give it more of like that
yeah,
shoulder kind of
mhm, that whole arm just, bring it, just move. Not, I guess you could pivot it. Yeah. Now you're really interested. This is really interesting. Yes. Now, is that more naturalistic? Kinda. There's something
yeah,
about like the way that starts to move instead of the straight line. You do have the straight line, those AC joints, but
right.
now you've sort of drawn that those lines make the collarbone almost. And so it's almost like with the dragon, it's like you probably don't want to make a super big deal out of it, but maybe it's sort of you indicate it anatomically, and it makes so much sense to the viewer because
Right.
we look at the body all the time. We look at ourselves, we look at other things and stuff. We have a deep knowing about how bones and muscles go, but when you draw it, it's just it really it's so hard to capture it sometimes. And even those really great stylized illustrations, I really feel like in a way they are referencing this real, you know what I mean, this sort of the appearance of things as they would appear in real life. So um yeah, this is really coming together, dude. Really coming together nicely.
Yeah, it's one of many doodles
Mm-hmm.
that I've been doing, just trying to come to a better understanding of dragon anatomy. Dragons are chimeras, so they're based off of different animals. So I've really been trying to focus on studying the different animals that they're composed of, to try to get a better idea of the way that those individual animal body parts move, and how they look. You know, so it's got the scales of a carp, it's got um, the face of a camel, it's got the horns of a stag. It's got uh, the body of a snake. The forget what the I think it's the legs. The legs of I want to say it's also a stag,
I've
but I
heard
could
this.
be
All the
wrong.
things you're mentioning, I've heard that. Like it, to be honest, I heard it somewhat recently, and I'm fascinated, and it makes so much sense. I really, it's my ignorance. You know what I mean? I'm so ignorant about dragons. As a tattoo person, it really seems like it's a part of tattooing culture. I mean, I know it comes from a specific place, so it's not to diminish that in any regard, or to that it's been appropriated in some way. I just think that it's just a real part. You see Westerners practicing, like very traditional aesthetic here, very traditional
Right.
Asian one. And again, you could, this has ties not only to Japan but also to China, and you're seeing it through the lens of tattoo as well.
Right. Right.
Many Western tattooers. Somebody that certainly was a touchstone for both of us would be Philip Blue, and
Yes.
how he has really dedicated his life to this to this exact thing. Um, he's a dragon master, and
Speaking of which, I should probably just break out my Philip Blue Dragon Claw book.
that's the book I was going to look for earlier, and I have
Yeah.
it I have it in book form.
Yeah, I
I
was
don't have it digitally available, so I was like, nope.
well,
I have a snake drawing book that's really cool. It's called Drawn to Scale. You may actually have that one, but yeah, this is Dragon Day, so I was like, yeah, go for the dragons and stuff. Um,
yeah.
and
So
yeah,
I'll
go ahead.
switch my camera back real quick. Um, there we go. So back in, I want to say 2016, Philip Liu actually released the Dragon. Yep, released his book on Dragon Claws. Um, and I was one of the like first four people in line at the London show to buy it. And he personally like signed it and everything. It was I'm a nerd for this kind of stuff, but it's absolutely filled, and I even have like his business cards that he gave me. It was pretty awesome. But just dragon claws, pages and pages of nothing but dragon claws in different forms and shapes with different numbers of fingers
Yeah, Jealous.
and
That's an
toes.
amazing book.
Yeah,
That is an amazing book, a magical book for sure.
it was pretty pricey, and I definitely, if this was today, I don't know if I'd be able to swing it. But
Yeah,
at the time I was doing pretty well financially, so for me it was like, yeah, I'll drop that on his book. Yeah, why not? Yeah, that'll be
certainly.
cool. But that's like one of my very favorite books ever. I've got a few very special ones that have been signed, so those are kind of nostalgic. But back to the dragon claws. It's funny because I've noticed every artist out there kind of draws them a little differently too. And it is said that depending on where you are in the world, they will actually have a different number of toes and fingers. And that is something that I have seen.
Oh,
Um,
really?
mhm. So the way that it was originally taught was that dragons originally, if I remember correctly, and I may be wrong in this, but dragons originally came from China, and the further away from China they moved, the fewer fingers and toes they actually ended up having. Until you get to the West, where we drew them with like, you know, human hands and human feet and the same number of digits. But it's weird to me because it's the only culture, like in the Asian style of dragon, is the only culture in the world where the dragon is actually a chimera. You don't see that in English folklore, for example. You don't see that in South American folklore, or anywhere else of that nature. So it to me, it's always been fascinating just to study those and study the people that draw them and just see how they're doing things differently.
Are you
It's just
onto the
fun.
legs and stuff? Are you onto the legs and
Oh
stuff now?
yeah,
Let me see what you're up to. That's cool.
yeah.
That's
Just
cool.
trying to
All right.
map
So
out this
how does the
dragon.
dragon leg work? A dragon leg works like what kind? You said it was a stag leg, but
Uh,
with eagle
think of a
claws. Is that right?
stag or a dog or
Right.
anything with like in one of those like weird legs where they're actually walking on their toes. It's not their foot. So
Uh-huh.
you would have the thigh bone, which would curve down forward, and then you would have two additional sections. We would have the lower leg, right? That would be like our shin. Then you would have our
Were you drawing another
like
color again?
ankle.
I see where you're drawing. Would you do that in another
Yeah,
color? Because I think that's helpful.
yeah.
So it's
So
what make it like yeah, I
so
get you.
think of like a dog's hind leg,
Mm-hmm.
where you would have the thigh bone, lower leg. Then this would be actually the top of the foot, and I'll move this up a little bit so you guys can see a little bit better. And then you would have like the toes coming down,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So what you would do is you would accent the thigh, maybe give this like a little bit of a swing down,
Juicy.
right?
That's
And
juicy.
then
Juicy thigh.
what would look like the knee isn't actually the knee. Well, I mean, technically it would be if we
That's
were
the
looking at
knee.
human
Yeah.
anatomy.
Mm-hmm.
And then
And
you
then
would have,
that's the heel.
yep, that
That's the
this would be the
heel.
heel,
Mm-hmm.
and then this would flow down into
Those are
the toes.
metatarsals.
Metatarsals is
Mm-hmm.
you're speaking in 10-cent words now, and I'm getting a little lost.
The last bit of your toes are they're known as the phalanx, and those like so there's three
Ah,
segments in the toe. So, and I think you would get that even in this three-toed like varietal of dragon here. You'll have the metatarsals or those vertical. That's the vertical expanse, and then the phalanx will be the three more bones, followed by a nail at the end.
yes.
So it's like you got like I've fallen into this trap. To fall into this trap, Jason. I will admit, I've definitely blown it. It's been terrible. You just think you can just draw a dragon foot like it's no big deal. Nope. You got to think of it. I'm really
Yeah,
convinced. And that Philip Blue book is so good on that. But that you have to do um, all those moves, all those anatomical points. You may like draw some fleshy thick dragon who's like you can't really see too many of the joints, but you got
right.
to reference it. I like what you
Yeah,
did there. I like
you
what you did
have
there
to
a
have
lot.
the right like anatomy for it,
Hmm.
you
So
know.
where does
But
all right? So that's up there. Is there like a hip? There's got to be like some. It's all in the
so
hips.
in the dragon that I started drawing, the hip joint would be here. Hopefully, you guys can see this all right. Um,
Go
and
lime
then this
green.
would come down into the knee.
Okay.
Let's switch colors again because I doubt you guys can see this
Yeah,
that well.
lime. Make it limey green. That would be just nice, sharp, bright green, so we can see. Yeah, your leg. Cool.
So
Yeah,
this would
that's
be flowing down to the kneecap,
mm-hmm.
right? And then that would kind of get tucked up there. This would end up being the hip joint. I don't know how well you can see that, but
Mm-hmm.
let's mute down the rest of this. And this. And this. So that you can really get a better idea of what I'm drawing.
Yes. Look at how much clearer that is.
So this would end up being our hip joint,
Mm-hmm.
our knee, and then this would end up being the heel, the metatarsals.
Yes. Now, which way do all those little toes go? You know what I mean? Are they trying
So
to grasp up? Are they are they flexing down. I mean, I guess it's like a rhetorical question. Like, how
The
does one
perspective
do
I
it?
have the foot in this drawing
Uh-huh.
would actually be if we do some volume shading, you can kind of see the volume of where everything would be.
So it's like they're grasping. Like that's the
Yeah,
sort of tension they want. You want to have a tension in there in the foot, the hand foot. You know, it's articulatable foot, right?
correct.
It can grab things just like its hands, but it's just bigger. It you know, right? Isn't that kind of how it is?
Right,
Just
right.
bigger foot, but it can
You know,
totally
not
grab.
only that, but it's going to be coming towards you a bit more
Uh
as opposed to, you know, like just having like the toes coming down and hooking down
huh.
this direction. I wanted to show like a flex in the toe
Yeah,
so that the toe would look like, oh,
lost you
ah, oh,
there.
wrong button.
I
Sorry.
guess you could have one that goes down as
And
well.
then, exactly. And then we could always do like maybe one that comes down off to the side. And then this would be the claw or the toenail. This guy would kind of be fading off in the background.
Yeah, awesome. So are you do you do three toes? Or are you a four toe dragon person?
I like three. If I do
That's humble.
four,
That's the humble. That's the everyday dragon,
well,
right?
I'll
Four
give it a
means
dew claw if
yeah.
I want to do four. So I'll do
You put one back there, right?
dew claw
I
coming
love
off the
it.
back.
That's more regal. You know, like the more toes you got, like when you get to five toes, I think that's emperor status. Like you're not really actually, no one's actually allowed to rep that dragon.
Right, 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 right.
Or the old ones, old dragons, they go all blind. You know what I mean? And they got like
Yep.
long, their beards get long and their eyebrows get long and stuff, and they're just old. But they can I think they can grow more toes. Is it something like that? It's
Maybe.
as they don't quote me. It's pure speculation. I'm all but that seems like that does seem like
I'll
something
confess
they could do.
I'm not totally up to date on my dragon toe lore.
You know, but that's the thing. It's a total language. It's a total. It means
It
something.
is.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing about like from this when we talk about the lens that we're looking at it from. It's like we were talking about earlier about language and stuff. It's never yeah. Well, it's we shouldn't try to like you know prohibit language necessarily. Uh, but rather, perhaps rather, what I'm trying to say is that we need to think. We try to think things, try to think it through, um, just like you did here. Very logical. I really liked your approach. Now the other leg, I'm really keen to see how you're going to handle the other one because that's going to be
Yeah, the other
it's
one's
a
going to
bit of
be
a
a
puzzle.
bit more tricky.
Yeah, but I
Um,
think you've got it located. You really should be able to do a very interesting treatment on it. But yeah, you figured this out. I think really in a really clever way. Now I think the challenge for all of us is like as we get interested in our subjects that we're interested in, just keep learning more about it. Uh,
yep.
you know what I mean? Just like you ought to do it because you know because it means so
I,
much to you.
I I have
Yeah.
to quote Patrick Paul O'Neill from this year's Paradise Gathering.
Uh-huh.
Um, he said something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing here, something along the lines of, "We get paid to study," you know. And I
Mm,
believe it was Patrick Paul O'Neill. I could be wrong, but
that's
I'm
really
pretty sure it
nice.
was him. But we
That's really
get
nicely
paid
put.
to study these things and to study these topics and to draw these topics, and it's something that most other places and most other careers don't typically have the opportunity to go that route with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's to be thankful for the careers and the jobs that we have is definitely something to keep in mind. So for this foot, I think I would just do something kind of smallish, maybe fading back a little bit more.
Well,
So
it's
we
where
would
does
see a
that
little bit
knee?
more.
Where's that leg and that knee, right? I think you know,
That would be obscured by the rest of the body.
totally, but sketch it in. I
Maybe
feel
a
like you
little bit
should
of
I feel like you did all this
this.
work. Just a quick sketch. I'd love to see where do you think it goes?
Okay, quick
Another
sketching.
layer, Jason.
Yeah, I
Put another
know.
layer on that thing, man. I know it's a lot of layers. I people probably think we're nuts because all the layers and stuff that like I
Oh
know
yeah,
you're a layer. You use a lot of layers,
yeah. How many do I have
but
on
I
this
do
one
too.
already?
So,
I've used 33 layers
oh my
already.
god. Well, I
You
showed
know,
you
and I'm
mine today.
only at
Remember,
this
bro? I
point.
showed you mine, and mine is all organized. I'm all like bragging on. I'm taking a humble brag. I got
Oh,
that
I've got
organized.
other documents that have hundreds of layers,
I know
and
you
they're
do.
smaller. If you shrink the physical size but
Totally.
increase the DPI, you'll actually get more layers.
It's a nice hack.
Um,
It's a nice hack.
because it's taking up less memory physically. So you can actually utilize more layers. For example, if I go, where is, I've got tons of just documents on, different things. Like this is all just dragon heads. And I've got 90 layers out of a possible 99 on this document, and it's at 300 DPI at 6 by 12. So, and that'll give me 100 layers. And I only have 9 layers left, and that's because each one of these groups is a different dragon head that I've sketched out. So, and I mean, I've got, angry dragon heads, I've got rough sketches. That one's pretty cool. Different perspectives, different orientations. This one's more of a side profile. Um, just trying to draw them in different ways. This one's kind of looking up a bit more. This one's looking down. I think I already used that one actually.
Well,
This is,
each one has a lot of perspective,
yeah,
and so each one has its own kind of perspective. It really works out so nicely. You can put the body on. There's so much I think like room to create because spatially because you can just make it look voluminous, right? Like it has volume, and then it really does seem to work. Now, are you going to take up that challenge? Find out where in the heck
absolutely.
where in the heck sorry, so where is the spine at again? So I see now, I can see where with the green
So
leg
the
I can see
spine,
that leg. So where is the spine
the
again?
spine would be here.
Okay. All right. And then the
What do we
hip,
got?
hip bones, it's like they
This would be the hip on this side, which
mm,
means we would have another hip here.
okay. That's okay.
Okay. So that would mean
So we need a thigh bone. Hip bone's connected to the thigh bone.
if we were to draw the whole thing out, we
Mm-hmm.
would do something along these lines. Bring this back and up. This would be more of like the thigh, the knee,
What? Dude, look at that.
metatarsals.
Yo, let's go.
Or we could switch the perspective on it,
Uh-huh.
which might be interesting. And instead of having the thigh coming down in this direction,
Mm-hmm.
why don't we have it moving forward a bit more?
Yeah, forward and out, right? Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So then this would be the rest of the thigh, knee. This would be the ankle joint, metatarsals. Then we could have this almost like moving backwards a bit more. Almost like it's kicking its legs wide. But if we wanted to utilize perspective and really create some foreshortening in the distance,
Look at that spread, bro. That dragon
yeah,
is all
he's
spread
getting his
out.
legs like real spread
Whoa.
wide.
That is wild. But that you can, yeah, you can do it. It's so funny. It's like that claw still gets is still getting captured. And now this dragon is definitely grabbing past the crotch, which is amazing. I love that bit. I really liked that one, where the leg was, it looked like it was standing real stout. And it's like, it's like you could move I guess you could move the tail or something or whatever. But that was just it was all, if you just went back, just back, like 20 steps. Yeah, that. So that was, I don't know, that's very striking as a composition to me. And there's something about it. It feels like the perspective starts to make sense insofar as like it's such a huge dragon still. You know what I mean? That it's like it's far above us. We're still staring straight up at it, right? That's how you have the
Right.
knees arranged. So we're still staring up at this dragon. Yeah, there's something nice, almost contrapposto would be the technical term, but I might say that the hip is
Yeah, the hip would
lower
be
on the,
slightly off on this.
yeah, the hip would be just a
What I
little
would have to
lower.
do
But yeah,
to
just I
get the
mean,
hip.
like a nice little ellipse right in that little spot, like right where is where in the heck is its
So if we
pelvis?
wanted to align the hips correctly, it would
Yeah,
almost be
dude,
here-ish.
that feels a little better. Yeah, and that makes sense. And now, to be honest with you, now you could make that leg really, you could extend it and be straight, and that would be like almost in the same manner as the arm is extended, for instance. I would certainly
Right.
keep this layer as a possibility, but now that you've located it like that, that looks great. That looks really accurate. And now you can make that whole leg straight, just like the arm is, if you wanted, and that would be very classic dragon pose, I feel like you know what I mean, like one arm straight, one leg straight,
Right.
and curl back like the other ones are curled. I've definitely seen that. It's very graceful. You know what I mean? It
So
really elongates the form. In
one
a really
thing that I when I was taking Bill Canales' dragging course 2 years
mm,
ago, he brought up a little thing that he likes to do whenever he has to draw dragon's legs. He'll actually position them in opposite. So for an arm that I had kind of tilted back, like I do up here, right? Kind of like bent back, he would do the straight leg on the same side of the body as that arm. And then for an arm that's extended, he would actually cock that leg back, um, almost treating it like it's opposites,
yep.
which I always found to be very interesting because, much like yourself, I find it makes a little bit more sense to have straight arm, straight leg, and then bent arm, bent leg. But to each their own. It's a mythical creature, so you can really draw it however you want, and there's no one to say, "Oh, that's wrong."
You know
Because
what is right?
what
You know
do
what's right
dragons
though?
really?
I was just going to say what's really right though is that I feel like you've unlocked it in a real way. Like this is unlocked, and now you can move it around. You know what I mean?
Right,
That's the part that I feel is really valuable for all of us is to get it to that spot where you could do that, where you could bend it and stuff. And again, I'll bring up Mickey Schlick again. You know what I mean? I referenced him earlier today. He would be building this as a 3D model that he could move around. You know
right.
what I mean? Like he would certainly he could build this. I'm sure there are 3D models that are very detailed dragons that we could light in different ways and get like very good sort of representations about. I love the art of drawing it from your imagination. And there's something that is there's like a deep spiritual connection to being able to draw this mythical chimera from one's imagination and connect with others in some sort of like imaginative, an imaginative space where, you can love dragons and stuff. So
Yeah.
there's something about it that's really beautiful. And it's also really like the challenge is to like sort of, like you said, accept the payment to study, accept your
Right.
payment for your studying. And so study, read, 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 as it were. Draw, draw, draw. I like.
Yeah.
I think that the hips they make a lot of sense. Might need just a bit of like tweaking or something, but
Right.
at least it looks like it looks like legs that could be standing, supporting a figure. Right. It has a nice kind of relationship to, like even if that dragon is not standing on something, those legs are proportionate and they kind of related enough to one another that they feel like, again, it's like if maybe people do just sort of magically pop a hand out of it. I feel like having that beautiful gesture and a little bit of logic, because that's what you're doing. You're
Right.
geometry. You're using geometry to sort of to make a very accurate prediction. So logic, right? And so that's
Yes.
what's happening here. And like so, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think we could get over. We could overemphasize it, I suppose, but it's really nice, I think, to unlock it, to be able to have the freedom to express, to be expressive, because there's all sorts of symbolic things you could say with the attitude of the dragon, for instance, or it's, like we said, you could personalize it so it really represents you in some way or represents something important to you, um, through its age. Maybe it's a young dragon, maybe it's an old one, but all that stuff you can depict. Um, and it'll be much more successful and convincing if you have some relationship to this logic. Um, even
Right.
even even like traditional, sometimes really traditional things have a kind of a, um, there's a sort of rudimentary quality to it. Uh, but again, it is like referencing some, set of understanding, some knowing. Um, uh, if it didn't look like, if it didn't look like a rose, if it didn't look like a dragon in some way, right, we wouldn't be able to read it at all. So, um,
Yeah. If it's not representational in some aspect and people can't identify what it is, it's a lot more of a struggle for people to find it desirable. Um, and that's referencing a conversation I had with Marcus Leonard and Kaya Heitland, where they actually sat down and looked at representationalism and who's getting more representational tattoos. And but people want to be able, like most people want to be able to know what it is they're looking at, right? And so you have to learn that visual language in order to effectively articulate what it is they're looking at.
this is an important
Um,
point, Jason. Super crucial point,
yeah.
because like that's how people can enjoy it at all. Like, so Jake Meeks makes this really interesting point, because it's also a very sort of almost cliche famous one, and that is that art should comfort the discomforted, right, and should discomfort the comfortable, right. It's the inversion, right, of enjoyment. Art should really make you think, but if you can't get through to people, you're going to have a hard time getting them to consider what your position is at all. So
Right.
sometimes shock is the way. Tattoos are certainly a shocking thing. They feel, perhaps you could make the case that they're less shocking today than perhaps they were historically speaking. But things can be shocking. You're getting, you're approaching your audience in some way that where they can, like you said, like grasp it in some manner. If you don't have that, right, if you don't have some sort of middle ground or some ground, I suppose, to sort of meet people at, um, they're not going to be able right? You're not going to be able to get your point across. You're not going to
Right.
be able to tell them what it is that's so important to you that you did it, right?
Well, and not, I think it goes beyond that to a sense where, we work as commission based artists. We're not necessarily, I mean, every now and then we might get someone that comes in that says, hey, here's a spot, fill it up with whatever you want to fill it up with, and there are certain artists out there that do get requests like that, and that's pretty awesome. I think that is ultimately a goal for a lot of artists to reach that level. But beyond that, we are commissioned artists. And when we have a client come to us and say, hey, I want a big dragon side piece, you know, we want to make sure that they can tell it's a big dragon side piece. I could sit here and scribble, a random line and call it my interpretation of a dragon, but that's not really going to go through and resonate with a lot of people. So there has to be some kind of representationalism there for your client to be happy and to go along with it because they are the ones paying you. Um, as much as I don't like to make it about money because, I mean, I just don't like to deal with money. I just like to draw pretty pictures. But, it's like if I've actually had clients that have come back before and said, well, that's not really what I was looking for. I was looking for something maybe a little bit more like this or something a little bit more like that. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, you probably should have told me that before, but it's like, cool, give me a few minutes and let me see what I can come up with for you. Maybe we'll reschedule your appointment, and we'll get you in so that I have enough time to accurately prepare this.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, they're the ones paying you. And if they
Yeah,
can't tell what it is, there's a pretty good chance
totally.
they're not going to give you money for it.
Well, I think okay. So I think I let me suggest, or at least let me ask you what you think. This is what I'm taking away from what you're saying is that when you say representation and stuff, that you're engaging with some form of representation, like this one, for instance. You are drawing this dragon, and there's a whole series of representations that deals with it. um, it's also oriented towards it being a tattoo. So
Correct.
like these are the forms of representation that make sense to people that you're engaging with it, something specifically. um, and I guess it really is. As soon as, like, we need to be dialectical about it, and as soon as you start to to put a box around what tattooing is and all the rest, it does fall apart. I think about like really abstract tattoo designs and that sort of a thing. And how is that effective? Well, because it relates to conventions, right? Some of the conventions that we're kind of talking about, like, the way to draw a dragon's foot and all that stuff. You could probably draw something that was, like completely oppositional to all the things we've talked about, and it might be profound. So you can't limit stuff. You know what
True,
I mean?
true.
Like, you can't limit it. You can't delimit it before it's, been invented. But certainly, caring about this and having your own personal sort of feelings, you're taking a side. Like, I love what you're making here. You know what I mean? And I also would want to make, I'd want to take the time and consideration and care to make something so nice. Um, but again, it's like there's so many ways to do uh, every single thing. Um, it really is. There really is a lot of contingency. Um, so yeah, talking about things, watching other people work, I think is so valuable. I'm really enjoying watching you work, Jason. You know, I'm really hoping that we can continue to do our drawing streams together here on Reinventing. Um, they
I
are
mean, that's the
it's a
plan, right?
It is the plan, man. It's like it's really rewarding to be a part of this and for people to actually check it out and stuff. I just like lots of gratitude.
Oh,
Like
well,
lots of gratitude to all the people that, like, you know, check us out, patronize, and interact and stuff too. It really is. It's really it's quite meaningful to me. So I wanted to just say thanks for inviting me on today.
Hey, man, you are
This is
always welcome.
super. I know, and I appreciate you. We had APT stuff today too, but before this, let's see. I got one more I could do. Yeah, APT. All right, Alliance of Professional Tattooists.
Yep.
So uh, yeah, visit our website um, for more
Do
about.
we have
Uh,
like a little splash screen up
I have
here
a
for?
I
Yeah.
put up the
Here we
logo.
go.
There you go. Hey, we were live from the from Santa Fe, from the Tattoo
Do we have
Fiesta,
another one?
or yeah, New Mexico rather.
We'll
Yeah.
have to edit this one.
We have to make more, but certainly certainly I just wanted to, I wanted to thank you very much for coming on my show today. It was great having you. Even even though mine was more of a chit chat than much about drawing, but I really enjoyed watching this dragon sort of develop. What does it look like from a distance? Yeah. It's cool. He's like goofy looking and funny, but like a dragon. You know what I mean? The goofy
Yeah.
dragon. Yeah, he's
I
funny.
think if I were to stick with this composition, I'd probably blow the head up even
Love it.
further.
Yeah. Dope.
Really make it look like it's
Too
coming at
big.
you.
Maybe that's too. I don't know. Maybe that's too big.
Yeah,
I
a
don't know.
little too big.
Yeah, right. It's like it's a game of just dialing it in. I think it's a
Oh,
cool,
absolutely.
got some cool like pieces there. But yeah, it's I think the little exercise you showed where you drew out the leg, I think that would be a really great, that might be a great series of exercises to engage with. Let's draw little dragon feet. Think about how they work
If
and think about it in
there's
space, you
there's a
know?
pretty difficult dragon exercise, but you can use it for anything.
Hmm.
And I think I was discussing this with you the other night. There's a video out on YouTube, in which James Tex and Shane Ford are talking about dragons, and James goes through and details one of his exercises that he used to really challenge himself to draw a dragon head or a dragon claw or whatever from a different perspective. And that's the S curve box method, which I'll go through. Let me just create a new document. So the S curve box method, basically you start out with a simple S curve. Then you turn this into a three-dimensional cube structure. And this will really push anyone that's out there that really wants to get good at drawing anything. This will be the way that you do it. It's really going to push you to draw things in different manner and in a different way. So then we could do, we'll give this one more segment. And depending on where you put the edges of the S curve will kind of depend on the direction in which you draw these different elements. So then this would come down, this would come down. This would come down. And now this will give you a basic layout for like a dragon head.
Hmm. That's a
You
fun
know,
one. That's a fun
yeah,
exercise right there. That was a lot of fun.
absolutely.
That's a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
it's challenging too. It's really, really challenging.
Totally. Totally is. It totally is. Yeah,
It hurts
that's
my head.
it looks great, and I think once you've sort of done it enough times, I know it probably seems crazy, but like you've done it enough times, it really does. It will kick in for you sometimes. Um, it really does kick in for you sometimes. It's certainly not there for you if you don't practice it. I feel like that's true. And it's sort of like a you have to keep it sharp, honed, almost like a blade or something like that. Like drawing, being able to draw this like formfully. There's something about practicing it, maybe doing it from life from time to time. Um,
Absolutely.
actually, really, it makes a big difference. And I think I'm sure you were the same. Like you have to use a lot of photographic reference. Maybe you're even making tattoos that have like a photographic you know you're using a photograph as a reference. Maybe you're even doing that. Um, Drawing from life really helps you like understand your photograph a lot better, I think. So
Oh,
if you're
absolutely.
using photographic reference, drawing from life can just, I think, enhance your use of that. So I think there was a big, I've certainly heard people have a big resistance, like the tracing a photograph like it's cheating or something. I don't think that's true. However,
Nope.
you could certainly get a lot more out of your photographic reference through a life, like practicing drawing from life and stuff. What did you draw here? What are these like little circly bits?
Circles would be the eye placement, a rough
Okay.
placement for the eye. These lines coming out would be the placement for the snout. And then you'd give it almost like a triangular top for the top of the nose, a couple of little lines for like the fangs.
So each one is a face.
Yep, from a
Got it.
different perspective.
Mm,
So it really gets to be kind of
that is
challenging after a while.
very difficult. It was fun. It was a fun exercise until you did
It
this.
it was. It it
Now,
it always is a fun exercise until you really start to try
all
to
right.
like
So
master it, and then it's just crazy difficult.
all right. So here's my question to you. Is um, the lower jaw, right? You really are just aligning it along that same plane of perspective.
Correct.
That's right. Okay.
Correct.
I
The
see. It's tough. I get it. I know that. I just want to make sure that's what Are
yeah,
you
the
always doing that? Or are you trying to make it sort of like
always.
the jaw is opening or closing in some way,
I mean,
or
you
are
can
you?
draw it with different expressions, but I try to keep the lower mandible always parallel
Yeah.
to where the cheekbone line would be, and that
Uh,
would be this line. This would be the line for the
yeah.
cheekbones and the orbital sockets.
Got it.
Um, and it's tricky. Like it really makes you think about, okay, well, if this is the nose and the snout, this would be the lower mandible. Where would that curl up? How would
Grab
that
another
look as
color.
it
I can't see.
disappeared?
Grab
I
another
know
color.
I'm terrible
I
at
can't
that
see it.
too.
No, I hear you.
So,
Well, that's what this is. This is nice, so that way I can understand where you're coming from sometimes. Uh,
so I
because
always try to make sure that
yeah.
the bottom of the top of the jaw is parallel with the front of the lower mandible, and then that is parallel to the orbital socket or the cheekbone line in every picture.
Hmm.
So that would be the cheekbone line, and then this would be the bottom of the roof of the mouth.
Right.
This would be the top of the mandible.
Yep.
Same thing here. This would be
Parallel
the
in perspective, of course.
always parallel. Always going through, making sure everything is nice and parallel. Um, and then this one would be here. This would kind of disappear behind that one. So that one you're not really going to see too much of.
Yeah, you could decide if you're looking like a almost like a 3 point thing. You know what I mean? Like you're looking
Right.
way down on it, or if you're looking like, is it kind of up? Are you looking down at a face that's looking up at you, or are you looking down at a face that's like looking down? You know. Yep. Just yeah, exactly that sort of a
Yeah.
thing. And that's a really this is a fun exercise because there you go. The verticals are describing themselves, like
Right.
that line that would go right. Like the philtrum on us, but that there would be basically a middle of the mouth, and it would have to be the same vertical as that vertical you have already demonstrated, right? You got the
Yeah.
block. All the blocks have to be the same on the same perspectival space. They're going the
Correct.
same sort of way. Yeah, it's great. It's a really great exercise. It's difficult for sure. But this what you're doing here, this is like, you have to go through that step to probably really make it like convincing. Um oof.
Yeah. It's a
Well, you got to
lot.
start with
This
one.
is
Start with
and
one
this is what I
first.
do in my free time. Go
Yeah.
figure, right?
Well, sketch it. I think the sketchy part is good, but the basic stuff is really important. Like, it's we're extrapolating from constructing human heads, like the way we draw a human head in drawing class or whatever. That's how
Right.
you're drawing this dragon head, and so I think that basic. I don't know. I like the Loomis method a lot. I sort of
Yes.
end up using the Loomis method a lot when I'm sort of that's ingrained in me in many ways. And I'm sure, I imagine people know what we're referring to, but Andrew Loomis was a teacher at the American Academy of Art in the early part of, or turn of the century, mid century, modern, and he has a method that uh, was very geometric in um, in approach. He may have been like right at the turn of the century. Um,
I think so.
so I think it might have been like like late 1800s, early 1900s, to be honest. So it's old, and you know what? I do like to read it, and I do like to sort of share it and stuff with my audience. There are some there's when you start talking about art, you really start talking. You can't help but to start talking about the personal, the political, all the rest. It is like it is like uh, you cannot rid art of it. You know what I mean? And to try to do so would be the most like sort of egregious ideological thing. It's a part of it. You do have to sort of deal with the good, the bad, and the ugly, as it were. So reading the old art books, they can be problematic, I suppose, by our standards today, but it is still important to sort of engage with these ideas, um, because there is going to be some, I think, important. There's some important thinking. They're thinking through important things as well, for their time, right? Be
Right.
historically like relevant. Like our time is our time. It's not back way back when. You're drawing dragons today. This is
Right.
not this is not this is not in the time when this was um, a mythological, like mm, I guess belief. I don't know. I guess do you believe in dragons?
You know,
Believe in dragons, Jason.
I'm gonna not comment on that.
Gotta believe, man. You gotta believe in dragons, right? Well, anyway, maybe we do. But however it works, it's still, regardless, it's today. You're doing it today rather than any other time in history. So it means something, particularly. That's so cool looking, dude. I really like the way that's sort of shaping up. Um, do you have any other elements in mind for this one? Some flowers and stuff, or
Maybe just some wind sweeps. Maybe Yeah, I hadn't really given it too much more thought. Um, yeah, I always like to add in additional elements after the body is drawn, just
Yeah.
because that's to me that's all
Well,
secondary matter. If we want our
mhm.
primary focus to be on the dragon itself, adding in
Okay.
cherry blossoms or flowers or um, maybe like Mount Fuji in the background, or like a little dragon's gate, that could be cool. But
That could be.
that all becomes secondary stuff to our primary focus. So I always like to add that like way after the fact. For me, my biggest problem is just figuring out proportion, figuring out angles, where is the body going to turn, where is the perspective going to be at, how do I want the legs to move, what kind of an expression do I want on the dragon, um, and that's why I draw a lot of dragon heads, because you can draw a dragon head to mimic human emotion. If you keep the mouth closed and keep its eyes a little bit more open, it's going to have a lot more of a calm appearance. So it's just kind of like maybe it's coasting through some clouds. If you open up the mouth, show a lot of teeth, give it some really dynamic eyebrows, some more squinty eyes, it's going to have a lot more of an aggressive kind of look. That's going to warrant having more aggressive styled hands. Um, Depending on the direction it's looking, maybe we want to take this finger and have this finger pointing in the same direction the dragon is looking. So to me, it all starts with the head of the dragon and then everything else after that. But that's just kind of the way my mind works. So, yeah.
No, I like that. I think that's as far as just sort of mastering how to move the dragon around in the area. This is I think it's a really valuable way to go. And then um, it might be interesting to try the other way around. Sort of have a try to sketch in some of those elements first, um, and then try to design it. I'm sure there's like there's probably all different sorts of results will vary, right, depending on your approach. So it is
It's
uh,
true.
yeah, it is
Very,
really
very true.
no, it is really nice to see how the this volume sort of form that you've developed, how that's applicable, to this. I have a question. I was just looking at the jaw. It's like, where's the jaw hinged at? It's such a I know it's a magical thing, but where is that guy hinged at? How does that work?
Right back here.
Yeah. So it's like but yeah, so should there be like lower, yeah, how does that work? It is. So it's over there
So
on one side. It's over. I see the perspective. It's going to the other side, and then it's crazy looking. I love it. And then it's like all the well, you could. I mean, that's what you could do with the body. Really, what you did here. You know what I mean? You could just
right.
whack everything out just a little bit too, and it would work if everything starts to sort of fall in the same kind of logic. So it's sort of like taking what you did and then just like you were doing before, just using the liquefy tool and
Yep.
just being free with it, having fun.
Yeah.
I think that's all what's at that's all at stake here for sure. Um, Jason, I gotta run, man. This was such a blast, and
Likewise.
let's do it again next week. We're gonna talk about going to Puerto Rico. Can't wait. And I'll jump on here. I will
I'll
jump on.
bring all of my notes for working at a successful convention.
Yeah, man. Hold on here. Hi. Yeah, definitely do that. Definitely do that. Definitely bring your notes, and I'm really looking forward to the exchange because we went last year. It was a great time. So many great tattoo artists there. So many. It was very beautiful, and so many coffees. Right, we had all the
Oh yeah.
we had the cafe con leches like nonstop. So it was great, and let's do it again. Let's have a deep dive next week. We'll talk about going to Puerto Rico. Anyway,
Awesome.
I'll see you next week. Cheers.
Excellent. Thank you so
All right.
much for joining me
Yeah,
today.
of course.
Cheers.